The Dream SMP. Despite its humble beginnings as a casual Minecraft server for the Dream team to mess around on with friends, it has evolved into a fascinating work of collaborative fiction, where through a web of streams, the viewer can dive into a story that is incredibly entertaining.
We would rather die than give in to you and join your SMP.
Even with the wacky events and quirky situations between creators, and the often fourth wall breaking tone it has,
But you're just being sort of a...
Oh! Canon.
it manages to tell a narrative full of action, romance, tragedy, and Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supremes.
I guess he doesn't want the free Crunchwrap Supreme.
The Dream SMP, while far from a perfect story, has actually some great lessons to impart on storytelling. Whether you're a writer, role player, or just someone who really likes great fiction, I think there are at least 4 main things the Dream SMP can teach you. Before we get started, just an obvious disclaimer. There will be spoilers on some of the major plot points and character arcs of the Dream SMP. It will only have spoilers on Season 1 though, which I consider everything from the beginning of the SMP up until the end of the election and Manberg arc. Also, while I have you here, if you happen to enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. This is my first ever video essay, and I'm hoping to grow over time and release more content like this. Subscribing is easy, and it would really make my day if you did. Enough shameless plugging aside, let's jump into the video. Motivation is what drives us to live, to breathe, to fight for our nation, or to summon hellish demonic monsters against it. Creating characters with motivations is crucial for a storyteller to form believable, complex protagonists, antagonists, and supporting characters. Characters in the Dream SMP are spurred by engines of motivations, seeking security, freedom, power, and other things, and I think the way they do it in the server gives storytellers many useful examples to learn from. Of course, the Dream SMP members don't act completely in line with their lore-based character motivations. Streamers will be streamers, talking to chat, using autotune, and doing things that lore-wise don't really make sense. However, in the pieces of the SMP that are lore compliant, most of the main characters who emerge are relatable, understandable, and complex, due to how their actions are often pushed by deep motivations. Characters like Tommyinnit, Technoblade, or Nikki aren't just acting on whims all the time, but they often act in careful ways that follow specific desires that have been built throughout the story. Let's look at Tommy for example. The character he plays is brash, idealistic, and takes drastic measures. He's waged war against the dominant empire, led revolutions, and dueled with the Dream himself. He's even fought with his own allies when they strayed from certain ideals he held. Through it all, he sought to do things for the sake of freedom, independence, and the liberty of the nation he supports, Manberg. What can we learn from this? Characters need motivations in order for their actions to make sense and for the audience to be able to connect and relate to them. Without credible sets of motivations, characters will seem like empty husks, or simply lifeless pieces that are being moved from place to place throughout the plot. Furthermore, the conflict of motivations a character has within their mind also makes a character more complex, and thus more intriguing. It forces them to go through internal struggle, and make decisions on what they value most, and what they're willing to sacrifice. This is painful for the character, but it's perfect for the audience. Everyone can relate to internal conflict, indecision, and the urgency of our own actions. We all know what it's like to struggle with ourselves, and seeing that struggle in characters draws us deeper into liking them, or at least relating to them. During their days exiled in Pogtopia as Wilbur grows maddened, Tommy had to choose whether to follow his loyalty to Wilbur, his mentor, and join his scheme in blowing up Manberg, or to follow his own morals and to try to save the nation that they built. Developing these nets of motivations breathes life into the Dream SMP, elevating it above a typical SMP. Complex motives allow for more action, more dynamic characters, and a diversity of opportunities for conflict. Motivations also, importantly, provide context for conflict. With clear motivations, Tommyinnit goes from being a blank block man to an idealistic person, torn between loyalty and ethics, seeking to find freedom in a hostile server. And with conflict comes heroes and villains. One of the places I feel that complex motivations definitely play a role into are with the Dream SMP's antagonists. J-Slab the Emperor, Dream the Puppet Master, Technoblade the Anarchist, and Wilbur the hero turned tragedy. Each one of these characters and many others throughout the server have taken upon the role of antagonist, whether as clear-cut villains or as anti-villains. While it's definitely debatable whether characters like Technoblade can be truly considered evil, he is definitely an antagonist if you take the perspective of the L'Manberg underdogs being the SMP's main protagonists. Antagonists are characters that oppose the protagonists. They aren't always villainous. Often antagonists can also be on the protagonist's side. In fact, few effective antagonists are really evil for evil's sake.
No, you don't have to do this!
However bad they may be, characters like Technoblade and Wilbur take Tommyinnit's revolutionary ideas and motivation by freedom and twist it. They distort his hope and his yearning to fight oppression through a funhouse mirror reflecting back grotesque, extreme versions of his ideas. The Blade wants freedom and joins Tommy to topple Schlatt, yet he seeks freedom across society, seeking to topple any government, no matter if it's run by friend or foe. He wants freedom from oppressors and all oppressors, leading to his murder of Tubbo and summoning of the Withers. On the other hand, Wilbur's distortions of freedom are a little bit less straightforward, but still understandable. He follows Tommy's idealism, but is chained by guilt, desolation. In the end, the freedom he seeks is freedom from the failures and unfinished symphonies of L'Manberg. He seeks finality and freedom from the plot and from the mortal plane. Thus he begs Filza to end his life, freeing his spirit.
Independence or death?
On the other side of the spectrum regarding oppression and freedom are Dream and Schlatt. Jay Schlatt is cruel, mistreating those around him, and destroying monuments such as the White House and the walls. Meanwhile, Dream rules over his server, manipulating and threatening those in his way, playing with them like pawns to grant him physical and also psychological control. These antagonists all work together to create different conflicts for people like Tommy, Tubbo, and Nikki. Their views distort values of freedom to their dangerous extremes or to their polar opposites. This allows for interesting themes to emerge and for characters to be developed as they interact with these villains. If you're writing a story, including an assortment of antagonists can be great for action and development. Let's look at an outside example. In Gotham City, the vigilante Batman has a rogues gallery of antagonists, each able to challenge him in a different way. Bane with his massive strength, Poison Ivy with her plant manipulation, and the Joker with his psychotic mind games. Each villain a protagonist encounters forces them to adapt, develop their skills, and find new ways to fight, all while keeping the audience thoroughly entertained. Just as in Gotham, Tommyinnit faces different foes who force him to react in different ways, both physically and with his ideals. Wilbur and Techno aren't entirely Tommy's foes. They aren't entirely villains though. They tread the line between good and evil, emerging somewhere in between, not as black or white, but as morally gray anti-heroes. By having antagonists like this, and villains like Dream and Schlatt, Tommy's choices and allegiances become muddled. He's forced to question who to trust and who to believe. And who doesn't love a great betrayal story?
It was never meant to be.
You didn't. Oh my god!
Let's change the topic around and talk about something else. Structure. In the writing world, we have these special terms called plotters and pantsers. Now just hear me out about pantsers. Plotters structure and outline their story's details, preparing mostly everything before writing. Meanwhile, pantsers are named so because they fly by the seat of their pants, freestyling their writing as they go without that much outlining. Most writers either lie on one side of the spectrum as a pantser or a plotter, but the Dream SMP shows that storytelling can be achieved in the middle. The Dream SMP is able to brilliantly strike a balance between plotting and pantsing, structure and improv. Many of the major plot points are planned out in advance, but room is left for improvisation, and much of the dialogue is unscripted. This allows for genuine reactions and also lets all the creators within the SMP to find their own unique ways to shift and alter the storyline.
I let Tubbo and Schlatt know the outcome, and I didn't let you know, so your reaction was completely genuine.
It's amazing that the characters in the story can have reactions that are entirely in the moment, genuine, and it adds a genius bit of immersion that typical storytelling can't easily do. They also let their plans shape interesting moments as well.
So you could have the moment where Filza joins behind Wilbur, or so you could have the moment where Techno does like a huge speed. Those were the bits where I was like, right, it's worth doing that.
It's a beautiful balance. Their style of structuring the narrative allows for both the genuine acting and epic cinematic scenes. Having your story be told online by dozens of different creators can be messy, but on the Dream SMP, it often manages to be engaging and innovative. It's not limited by certain events, and it isn't left flailing in the complete unknown. It's a fine way to develop a story, especially on a medium such as through streams, where viewers are watching live. Storytelling doesn't have to be as straightforward as words on text anymore. I love books, movies, and television, but something about the way the Dream SMP's plot is unfurled through a mosaic of dozens of streams and VODs set in the beautifully chaotic medium of Minecraft Let's Plays is so intriguing. This format is ripe for collaboration and has given its creators chances to interact with other huge creators, albeit these guests are usually not too integrated with the actual story. However, such a cooperative form of storytelling has also allowed voices and creators with less prominence to rise to fame, such as Tubbo. According to Sully Gnome, a Twitch statistics website, he had 307 viewers just in July 2020, and on November 16th, the date of the big season finale, he had 124,627. We can see a clear increase in subscriber numbers on his YouTube channel as well ever since he gained more significance in the plot, from being a member of the SMP, to a revolutionary, to eventually L'Manberg's president. Despite its name being the Dream SMP, it isn't just Dream's story. He doesn't even stream SMP highlights. The SMP is an opportunity for smaller creators to rise up, weaving their own stories, forming a wholly original tale with each of their own individual marks placed on the plot. While this topic I bring up is vaguer than the others, I think writers and storytellers in general can still learn a lot from the idea. Episodes are no longer only scripted through rooms of writers with notebooks and storyboards. They can also be created through Discord calls and Minecraft streams. Who knew? And storytelling doesn't always have to be a solo experience. I write most of my stories alone, but the Dream SMP shows how collaboration online can create hilarious sketches and thought-provoking narratives. This new medium of storytelling is a new frontier. It shows that stories told by many voices and shown through many perspectives can still intrigue viewers. Storytelling is constantly evolving, and the Dream SMP is just one step in that evolution. The Dream SMP might not have the most structurally sound plot or Oscar award-winning actors, although I'd argue Schlatt's heart attack scene was easily enough to win him Best Actor. In the parts it does well, it is able to shine brilliantly. With its heartfelt characters and their humanizing motivations, to its array of fascinating antagonists. Through its juggling of improvisation and careful plans, as well as its trailblazing through the world of on-stream storytelling, it's a zany but very fun adventure. And whether or not you really think these different qualities the story has are genius, no matter what, it still has managed to capture the interest of millions of people around the world. It's helped people to laugh and to smile and to enjoy all the aspects of a typical story: conflict, character growth, rises and falls, all through the medium of a blocky little world. I think for a server so silly, that's an amazing storytelling achievement.
Suck it, green boy!
Wait, don't leave yet. I just wanted to thank you for watching to the end. Nice to meet you. I'm Scrawls, and this has been my first YouTube video besides cringy school projects, so thank you for bearing with it. I genuinely hope it was interesting and that you plan sticking around this channel. Obviously, I'm very new to this stuff, so I would appreciate any support. Likes, or hitting that subscribe button so you can see more stuff by me, or commenting some suggestions of what topics you want me to discuss next. That's it for now. Thank you for watching again, and I hope you have an amazing day.